Michael and Sandra attended a friend's wedding. It was a grand event filled with joy and celebration. However, amidst the joyous occasion, Michael ran into his ex, Vanessa. Michael was shocked to see her, and memories of their past relationship came flooding back. Michael and Sandra were a beautiful couple whose love story was one to be envied. They met at university, where their love story began. Michael was a confident, ambitious young man studying engineering, while Sandra was a gentle and kind-hearted woman pursuing a degree in business administration. They first crossed paths during a campus event, where Michael's charisma and Sandra's warmth drew them to each other. The first meeting was at a university charity event. Michael was volunteering, helping to set up the stage, while Sandra was in charge of organizing the participants. When Michael offered to help Sandra with her tasks, she was grateful. They spent the whole day working together, talking, and getting to know each other. By the end of the event, they had exchanged phone numbers and a new chapter of their lives began. From study dates in the library to late-night walks around the campus, their bond grew stronger. They supported each other's dreams and aspirations, celebrating every little victory together. Their friends admired their relationship, often calling them the perfect couple. They were each other's biggest cheerleaders, always pushing one another to be the best version of themselves. Despite being married for years, they had no children yet. It was a subject they had discussed many times. Both were hopeful and believed that their time would come. Michael often reassured Sandra, saying, "Our love story is already beautiful, and when the time is right, we will have our little ones running around." Sandra had a best friend, Lisa, who had been with her from day one. Lisa was a vibrant and energetic woman, always ready to lend a helping hand or a listening ear. She had seen Michael and Sandra's relationship from the very beginning and was genuinely happy for them. "You two are meant for each other," Lisa often said, smiling at the couple. One day, Michael and Sandra attended a friend's wedding. It was a grand event filled with joy and celebration. Sandra looked stunning in a flowing blue gown, while Michael was dashing in his tailored suit. Lisa was there as well, enjoying the festivities and catching up with old friends. As the night progressed, the couple mingled with other guests, danced, and took plenty of pictures. The atmosphere was lively, with laughter and music filling the air. However, amidst the joyous occasion, Michael ran into his ex, Vanessa. Their relationship had ended badly when Vanessa left the country without saying anything to Michael. She had not reached out to him all the years she had been away. Michael was shocked to see her, and memories of their past relationship came flooding back. Vanessa, on the other hand, seemed composed and even pleased to see him. Amidst the bustling crowd and lively music, Sandra was busy chatting with Lisa and a few other friends when Michael excused himself to get drinks for them. As he made his way to the bar, he found himself standing next to Vanessa. She smiled warmly at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of nostalgia and something more. "Michael, it's been so long," Vanessa said, her eyes locked onto his. Michael didn't respond. He continued to get the drinks. Vanessa sighed. "I'm sorry, I regret leaving the way I did." "Why didn't you reach out?" Michael asked, unable to hide his curiosity. Vanessa looked down, her expression regretful. "I was young and confused. I thought it was best to start fresh without any ties, but I see now that it was a mistake." Michael tried to keep his distance, but Vanessa's presence stirred old feelings. Memories of their time together flashed in his mind, making it hard to focus on anything else. He could feel a mix of hunger and longing bubbling up inside him. "I see," Michael said, trying to end the conversation. "I'm here with my wife. I should get back to her." Vanessa reached out and lightly touched his arm. "Michael, wait. I just want to say I'm sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you." Her touch sent a jolt through Michael, and he quickly pulled his arm away. "It's in the past, Vanessa." We both moved on. Vanessa's eyes lingered on him for a moment before she nodded. "You're right. I just needed to say it." Michael turned and walked back towards Sandra, his mind in turmoil. He saw her laughing with Lisa and felt a pang of guilt. He needed to shake off the encounter and focus on the present. Meanwhile, Vanessa watched him go, a wistful look on her face. She had hoped for more, but seeing Michael again reminded her of what she had lost. She decided to leave the wedding early, not wanting to cause any more disruption. As the night went on, Michael tried to act normal, but Sandra noticed he was a bit distant. "Are you okay, Michael?" Sandra asked, her eyes filled with concern. "Yeah, just a bit tired," Michael replied, forcing a smile. "Let's enjoy the rest of the night." Unbeknownst to Sandra, this encounter would set off a chain of events that would test their love and commitment to each other in ways they could never have imagined. A few months after the wedding, Sandra began feeling unwell. At first, it was just mild fatigue and occasionally headaches, but her condition quickly worsened. Concerned, Michael took her to several doctors. After numerous tests and consultations, they received devastating news. Sandra had advanced cancer, and only a miracle could save her. The diagnosis shattered their world. Sandra tried to stay positive, but the treatments were grueling and often left her bedridden. Michael was emotionally drained, struggling to stay strong for his wife. He spent significant amounts of money on her treatment, trying every possible option to save her. Despite his efforts, Sandra's condition continued to deteriorate. The once vibrant and joyful woman he knew was now frail and constantly in pain. Michael felt helpless and overwhelmed by the situation. He began to withdraw, spending more time away from home to cope with his emotions. During this difficult time, Michael found solace in the arms of Vanessa. Their paths crossed again by chance, and Vanessa offered him a shoulder to lean on. What started as innocent support quickly turned into something more. Michael cheated on his wife with Vanessa, and their marriage became strained. Lisa, always perceptive, noticed the change in Michael. She saw how distant he had become and how Vanessa seemed to be around more often. One day, she followed Michael and saw him with Vanessa. Furious, Lisa confronted them. "You know she is dying, and you still do this to her," Lisa said angrily, her voice shaking with rage. Vanessa, unfazed, replied coldly, "She is dying soon anyway. Can't the living enjoy their life?" Michael stood there ashamed and silent. He couldn't find the words to justify his actions. Sandra's illness had taken a severe toll on her, both physically and emotionally. Despite her pain, she noticed the growing distance between her and Michael. He was rarely home and seemed distant when he was. Sandra's instinct told her something was wrong, but she was too weak to confront him. One evening, while Michael was out, Sandra was resting in bed. Her phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from Lisa, who had decided that Sandra needed to know the truth. Lisa had sent a photo of Michael and Vanessa together, along with a message explaining everything. Sandra's hands trembled as she read the message. Tears streamed down her face, not just from the betrayal, but from the realization that the man she loved had abandoned her when she needed him most. Summoning all her strength, she waited for Michael to return home. Later that night, Michael stumbled through the front door, clearly drunk. The smell of alcohol filled the room as he swayed, trying to steady himself. Sandra sat up in bed, her heart pounding in her chest. "Michael, we need to talk," Sandra said, her voice shaking. Michael looked at her, his eyes on focus. "Not now, Sandra. I'm tired," he slurred, trying to make his way to the bedroom. Sandra's heart boiled over. "No, we need to talk now," she demanded, holding up her phone with the incriminating photo. "I know about Vanessa." Michael's expression shifted from confusion to realization. He took a step back, struggling to find his words. "Sandra, it's not what you think," he murmured. "Not what I think?" "Michael, I want a divorce," Sandra said firmly, her voice steady despite her tears. Michael looked at her, a mix of guilt and defiance in his eyes. "There is no need for that. You are dying soon anyway," he replied coldly. Heartbroken, Sandra couldn't believe Michael could hurt her this way. With the help of her best friend and her parents, she made a difficult decision. She would leave the country to receive treatment abroad, hoping to find some peace and possibly a miracle cure. The pain of Michael's betrayal was too much to bear, and she needed to get away to heal, both physically and emotionally. While Sandra was away, Michael and Vanessa continued their affair without any guilt. They were often seen together at social events, and soon the news of their relationship spread. Eventually, Michael proposed to Vanessa, and they got married in a small private ceremony. Despite the outward show of happiness, cracks began to form in their relationship almost immediately. Vanessa's true color began to show. She was demanding, selfish, and often manipulative. She enjoyed the material benefits of being with Michael, but had little patience for his emotional needs. Michael, who was already struggling with guilt over how things had ended with Sandra, found himself increasingly unhappy. 2 years into their marriage, the issue between Michael and Vanessa grew more pronounced. Vanessa was constantly irritable, criticizing Michael for everything he did. Michael, on the other hand, started to see Vanessa for who she really was, someone who didn't genuinely care for him, but was more interested in the lifestyle he provided. One evening, during another heated argument, Vanessa's harsh words cut deep. "You were always weak, Michael. That's why Sandra got sick. You couldn't even keep your first wife happy." Michael was stunned by her cruelty. He realized then that he had made a terrible mistake, leaving a woman who truly loved him for someone who couldn't care less about his well-being. The weight of his action bore down on him, and he knew he had to face the consequences of his choices. Meanwhile, Sandra's surgery abroad had been successful. The treatment, though tough, had worked, and she was slowly regaining her strength. Supported by her parents and best friend Lisa, Sandra began to rebuild her life. The experience had changed her, making her stronger and more resilient. Upon returning to the country, Sandra focused on her health and career. She was determined to move forward and leave the past behind. However, she couldn't avoid hearing about Michael's marriage to Vanessa. Instead of feeling pain, Sandra felt a sense of closure. She realized that she deserved better and that it was time to officially end her ties with Michael. Sandra decided to prepare the divorce papers and arranged to meet Michael. She wanted to close this chapter of her life with dignity and grace. With Lisa's support, Sandra gathered the necessary documents and prepared herself for the meeting. When the day came, Sandra met Michael at a quiet restaurant, a place they had once frequented during their university days. The ambience was calm, with the soft hum of conversation and the clinking of cutlery. Sandra took a deep breath, clutching the divorce paper in her hand as she waited for Michael to arrive. When Michael walked in, he looked tired and worn out. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on Sandra. He hesitated for a moment before making his way over to her. Sandra's heart pounded in her chest, but she kept her composure. "Hello, Michael," Sandra greeted him, her voice steady. "Hi, Sandra," Michael replied, sitting down across from her. He could feel the weight of his guilt pressing down on him. Without wasting any time, Sandra handed him the divorce papers. "Here are the divorce papers. Sign them," she said, her tone firm and unwavering. Michael looked at the papers, then back at Sandra. "Sandra, please, I made a mistake. Forgive me," he pleaded, his voice breaking. Sandra's eyes hardened. "You told me I was dying soon. You cheated on me when I needed you the most. It's over, Michael. Show up on the due date and sign the papers," she replied firmly. Michael opened his mouth to argue, but saw the determination in Sandra's eyes. He knew there was no point. "I'm sorry, Sandra. I truly am," he said softly, his voice filled with regret. Sandra stood up, ready to leave. "Goodbye, Michael," she said, turning her back on him and walking out of the restaurant. Michael watched her go, feeling the full weight of his action crashing down on him. Michael was filled with regret as he watched Sandra walk away. He realized how much he had hurt her and how deeply he had betrayed her trust. The memories of their happy moments together flooded his mind, and he couldn't shake the image of her devastated face when she discovered his affair. Back at home, things with Vanessa had become unbearable. She was constantly complaining, and their argument had become a daily occurrence. The woman, who had once seemed like a refuge, now felt like a prison warden. One evening, after another exhausting fight, Michael sat alone in the living room, staring at the empty walls. He missed the love and support Sandra had given him, the warmth and comfort of their home. Vanessa's behavior had only amplified his guilt and regret. As he sipped on a glass of whiskey, his mind drifted back to Sandra. He remembered how she had stood by him through thick and thin, always believing in him and supporting his dreams. He had taken that for granted and destroyed the most important relationship in his life. Vanessa walked into the room, her expression annoyed. "Are you just going to sit there and mop all night?" she snapped. Michael looked at her, a mixture of sadness and frustration in his eyes. "I miss her," he admitted. Vanessa rolled her eyes. "You need to get over it, Michael. She's gone and we are married now," she said dismissively. Michael felt a surge of anger. "I made a mistake, Vanessa, a terrible mistake. I should never have left Sandra," he said, his voice raising. Vanessa crossed her arms. "Well, it's too late for that now, isn't it?" she shot back. Michael knew she was right, but the realization only deepened his regret. He spent his days going through the motions, haunted by the consequences of his actions. He knew he had lost the best thing that had ever happened to him, and it was all his own doing. Sandra, with the help of Lisa, began to rebuild her life. Her recovery from cancer had given her a newfound appreciation for life, and she was determined to make the most of it. Lisa remained by her side, providing the support and encouragement she needed. Sandra focused on her health, following a strict regimen of medication, diet, and exercise to ensure she stayed in remission. She also threw herself into her career, taking up new projects and challenges at work. Her determination and hard work soon paid off, earning her a promotion and the respect of her colleagues. On the day of the divorce, Sandra dressed in a simple but elegant outfit, ready to face the final chapter of her past. She arrived at the courthouse, feeling a sense of calm and closure. Michael was already there, looking sober and resigned. They sat in the waiting area, the silence between them heavy with unspoken words. When the case was called, they stood up before the judge, who went through the formalities. Michael signed the papers first, his hands shaking slightly. Sandra then took the pen, signing her name with a sense of finality. As they left the courthouse, Michael turned to Sandra. "I'm sorry for everything, Sandra. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me someday." Sandra looked at him, her expression softening. "I hope you find peace, Michael. Goodbye." With that, Sandra walked away, free to start anew. She was determined to live her life to the fullest, leaving behind the pain and betrayal. She felt a weight lift up her shoulders and a sense of hope filled her heart. Lisa was waiting for her. "How do you feel?" she asked, concern in her eyes. "Relieved," Sandra said, hugging her best friend tightly. "Thank you for standing by me, Lisa." "Always, Sandra. You deserve to be happy," Lisa replied with a smile. As they walked away together, Sandra looked forward to the future, ready to embrace new opportunities and experiences. Sandra knew she could face any challenge that came her way. Her journey had been difficult, but it had also made her stronger and more determined. She was ready to write the next chapter of her life, filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. The story teaches that perseverance and self-respect are essential in overcoming adversity. Sandra's journey teaches us that even in the face of betrayal and illness, it's possible to rebuild and find happiness by relying on inner strength and the support of true friends. Additionally, the story underscores the importance of making thoughtful decisions in relationships, as impulsive actions driven by emotional distress can lead to regret and further complications. Ultimately, the narrative highlights the power of forgiveness and moving forward, focusing on personal growth and new beginnings rather than dwelling on past pain.
Thanks for watching this captivating story on African Stories and Folktales. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories. Thank you.